Welcome to my message today as I talk about in search of purpose. I want to welcome you to this message. This is part of a series I'm doing called Ignite Your Purpose. Ignite Your Purpose. And so we're going to begin today talking about how that, all of us are in search of purpose. All of us are in search of purpose. And we're going to be looking at a story of a man named Solomon and his search for purpose. But as we begin today, I want to start out with a question. And here's the question. Does it feel like your life is just going through the motions and not making the impact you long for? Let me just pause here and get you to think with me, okay? Let's just really think about this question. Here's the question. Does it feel like your life is just going through the motions and not making the impact you long for? So many of us would probably say, yes, that's true of me. And what I want to say to you is, let's change that. Let's change that. Over the next 6 weeks, okay, I want to walk you through a 5-step plan designed to help you, listen to this, discover your God-given purpose and what to do about it. I want us to journey together over these next weeks. And I want to share with you a biblical plan, a plan for you living out your God-given purpose. You see, you've been called to a more meaningful life, a life, listen, full of impact. And listen, it's time. It is time to ignite your purpose so you can experience it. I mean, it's time. It's time to ignite your purpose so that you can experience it. And our key verse for this series is going to be Romans 12, verse 11, where the Bible says, not lagging in diligence, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. Listen, let's not lag when it comes to being diligent. Let's fervently serve the Lord. Let's ignite our purpose in serving the Lord. I pray that verse will become a reality for every single one of us as we go through this together, okay? So welcome to Ignite Your Purpose. So I encourage you, listen, join in as we dive into our search to ignite our God-given purpose. And here are the messages that are coming up here, okay? So next week, I'm going to talk about Ignite Your Purpose by connecting with God. And then the following week, Ignite Your Purpose by growing spiritually. And then the following week after that is Ignite Your Purpose by building community. And then I'm going to share about Ignite Your Purpose by giving back. And then the next one is Ignite Your Purpose by transforming lives. So all of these messages are going to focus on a particular purpose for our lives. And so I encourage you to do your best to hear every single message. So today we're going to be here in the book of Ecclesiastes. And the book of Ecclesiastes is what I would call a testimony. A testimony is when somebody tells a story about themselves and something that they experienced in their lives. And so Ecclesiastes is a testimony. It's a story of a guy named Solomon. And Solomon is known for being a king of Israel. And his most famous accomplishment was that he built the first temple in Jerusalem. So Solomon, that's probably the number one thing he's known for as far as an accomplishment goes, that he built the very first temple in Jerusalem. And in Ecclesiastes, he talks about his search for purpose. And I want to read, I want to begin with the end, okay? It's kind of like when you read a book and you go to the end to see how the story turned out. Well, that's kind of what I'm going to do. And then we're going to back it up and we're going to see how Solomon arrived at what he calls the conclusion of the whole matter. And so Ecclesiastes 12, 13 and 14. Right now I just want to read verse 13. That's our key verse for the sermon today. Here he says, Solomon says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. I mean, I've been searching for purpose. I've tried all kinds of what I'm calling today worldly experiments, and none of them worked. And here's what I learned. Here is the conclusion of the whole matter when it comes to purpose. Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is man's all. Well, we're going to see what Solomon did to arrive at that conclusion. And so what we're going to do today and in this teaching series, which I'm also calling a spiritual growth campaign, is we're going to answer one of the three basic questions everyone will ask, all right? And the question is this. Everyone is in search of purpose, all right? Every one of us, right? We all ask ourselves, why am I here? Why am I here? I mean, I call it the three greatest questions all of us ask is, how did I get here? I mean, how did I get here? Then we ask, why am I here? And then the final question we often ask is, where am I going? Okay, where am I going? I mean, how did I get here? Why am I here? And what's going to happen when I die? All right. Well, we're going to focus on that middle question, and that is, why am I here? Well, let's go into this and let's talk about in search of purpose. In search of purpose. And let's learn about Solomon's search for purpose. And the truth is, most of us have done some of the same things Solomon did to try to find purpose. So first of all, let's begin with this. Recognize a life without purpose. So what is a life without purpose? What does it look like, okay? What do you, and I want to use this word, what do you feel? What do you feel when you don't have purpose? Well, number one, life without purpose feels empty. It feels empty. Solomon said in Ecclesiastes 1:2, vanity of vanities, says the preacher, vanity of vanities, listen to this, all is vanity. And the word vanity in this context means emptiness. Emptiness. Solomon is saying, I just feel so empty. I feel so empty. And when you don't have a life of purpose, you feel empty. You feel empty. Do you sense that in your life today? Number two, a life without purpose feels boring. Boring. And Solomon describes it this way in Ecclesiastes 1:4-5. One generation passes away, another generation comes, but the earth abides forever. The sun also rises, and the sun goes down and hastens to the place where it arose. And what Solomon is just saying is life is just so routine. It's so ho-hum, It's, the alarm clock goes off, you get out of bed, you eat or take a shower, whatever you do early in the morning, you head off to work, you work your job, and for the most part that's not very exciting to you. Okay, you get off of work, you go do whatever you do, eat dinner, maybe watch TV, go to bed, whatever you do. Okay, and what he's saying is just so routine, so ho hum, so listen, boring. Okay, he's saying life is without purpose. It just feels so boring. Can you relate to that? Number three, life without purpose feels unfulfilling. Unfulfilling. You don't feel fulfilled in the things you do. He says in Ecclesiastes 1:8, all things are full of labor. Man cannot express it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. Life is full of labor. That's for sure, right? Okay. And what he's saying is, of all the things I look at, it just seems like nothing satisfies me. And we're going to see shortly all the things he looked at. And everything he heard, he just says, it doesn't fill me. It doesn't fill me. I mean, the bottom line is, this is a man in search of purpose, and he's not finding it, okay? And he's saying, I am feeling so unfulfilled. Do you sense that in your life? And then the fourth one is this: life without purpose feels insignificant. Insignificant. You don't feel like you're making an impact with your life. Ecclesiastes 1:11, there's no remembrance of former things, nor will there be any remembrance of things that are to come by those who will come after. Solomon just says your life just comes and your life just goes, and this person comes, this person goes, this person comes, this person goes, I come, I go, and so what, okay? So what? I mean, soon to be forgotten. That your life has been lived, but it's lived without impact, and you just feel like so insignificant. These are the things that we feel when we don't have purpose. We feel empty. We feel boring. We feel unfulfilled. We feel insignificant. And every single one of us, to some degree, can relate to this. I know I can, all right? And I'm quite sure you can. And some of you today, you relate to it so much, okay? I mean, in other words, this is like right on with the life you're living today. Hey, God has something more for you, okay? God has something more for you. He doesn't want you to be empty. He wants you to be full. He doesn't want you to be bored. He wants you to live an exciting life. He doesn't want you unfulfilled. He wants you fulfilled. He doesn't want you to sense your life as insignificant. He wants your life to count. He wants your life to count. Well, this is the beginning of the story. Recognize, what is a life without purpose? How does it feel? And then number 2, in search of purpose, avoid worldly experiments. So I'm going to go over this. It's a lot here, and I'm just going to give you the big picture, okay? But Solomon's going to talk about his search for purpose and the things that he tried, all right? He was on a quest to find purpose. He's got all these feelings inside of him, and he wants them to be different. He wants to see his life change. So he begins to try much of what the world tells us. Hey, the world is telling us if you can have these things, you're going to feel purpose, right? You're going to be happy. You're going to sense you have meaning in life. So what does he try? Well, experiment number 1 is knowledge. Knowledge. He says, and I set my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all that is done under heaven. This burdensome task God has given to the sons of man, by which they may be exercised. I communed with my heart, saying, look, I have attained greatness, and have gained more wisdom than all who were before me in Jerusalem. My heart has understood great wisdom and knowledge, and I set my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. But listen to this. I perceive that this also is grasping for the wind. Isn't that a powerful statement? Grasping for the wind. He's just grasping to find purpose. And he says this search for purpose, when it comes to knowledge, it doesn't work, okay? It's like grasping for the wind. And he went on a search for wisdom, it says. And boy, he got it as far as he obtained it. I mean, he said that he had more wisdom. He says, I gained more wisdom than all who were before me in Jerusalem. I mean, the world will tell us, hey, if you can just graduate from high school, you're gonna sense purpose in your life. If you can just graduate from college or some specialty school, or if your problem is you don't have a master's degree in something, or a doctorate degree, or whatever, and I'm all for education. The Bible's not knocking education here. Education is good, all right? But listen, education by itself is not going to give you purpose, all right? Just education alone is not going to give you purpose. So this experiment just failed. He got all kinds of knowledge, but it didn't work. He didn't find purpose. Well, he didn't give up. He He moved on to another thing the world says, and that is experiment number 2 is pleasure. Pleasure. I mean, the world tells us just, if it feels good, just do it, okay? Just do it. If you live your life that way, you'll sense purpose in your life. Well, what did Solomon do? He says, I said in my heart, he's talking to himself. Do you ever talk to yourself? We all do. Come now, I will test with myrrh. Therefore, enjoy pleasure. He says, I'm just going to enjoy pleasure. I'm going to live it up. But he says, but surely this also was vanity. He says, I just went all in for pleasure. And oh my goodness, I came up empty again. But he goes on and says more. I said of laughter. Laughter is just a madness. And of myrrh, what does it accomplish? Okay, what does it accomplish? I searched in my heart how to gratify my flesh. Let me just stop there, okay? Okay, so what it is, it's our flesh, and our flesh is yearning for purpose, and he's just trying to satisfy his flesh. And what does he do? He turns to alcohol. He turns to wine. He says, I try to gratify my flesh with wine. And let me just stop right here. Solomon, it's not in Ecclesiastes in this section, but he tried wine and women, okay? He was thinking he just doesn't have enough sex or whatever. He doesn't have enough, women in his life, And you're talking about having women. 1 Kings 7 tells us that Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines. I mean, I don't even want to go there. That's a sermon in itself, right? I mean, my goodness. I mean, he's just living it up, man. He's drinking and he's getting all these women into his life, and some of us might be thinking that I need a man in my life. That's my problem. I don't have purpose in my life. I'm not having enough sexual relationship or whatever. He's trying to gratify his flesh, but he goes on to say, while guiding my heart with wisdom. He still has all that wisdom, right? He says he's got that knowledge, okay? And he says, I'm going to lay hold on folly. How to lay hold on folly's fun. I'm going to try to have fun in my life, till I might see what was good for the sons of men to do under the heaven all the days of their lives. Well, vanity. Okay, vanity, vanity, vanity. Experiment number 2 failed to produce purpose, pleasure. Again, what does the world tell us to do? Just go have fun. Just do alcohol, drugs, whatever. Women, men, whatever, sex. Just kind of live it up. Gratify your flesh, and you'll have purpose. No, it's grasping for the wind. Well, he doesn't stop. Okay, most people don't. Experiment number 3 is possessions. And the world tells us, hey, your problem is, man, you just don't have a nice house, or you don't have a nice car, or you don't have this, or you don't have that. So what does Solomon do? He says, I made my works great. I built myself houses. I planted myself vineyards. I made myself gardens and orchards. I planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. I made myself water pools from which to water the growing trees of the grove. I mean, just look at this. We're halfway through this passage. I mean, he's saying he went for houses, he went for vineyards, he had gardens, he had orchards, he had fruit trees. He built a whole watering system to take care of all his agriculture. I mean, he's got it going when it comes to possessions. Not only that, I acquired male and female servants. I had servants born in my house. He had all kinds of servants to take care of him. And listen to this. He says, yes, I had greater possessions of herds and flocks than all who were in Jerusalem before me. He said, nobody had more possessions than me. Okay? He said, up to this point in history, nobody in Jerusalem has ever had all the possessions I have. He says in verse 8, I also gathered for myself silver and gold and the special treasures of kings and of the princes. I acquired male and female singers, the delights of the sons of men, and musical instruments of all kinds. He says, I got all kinds of silver, all kinds of gold. I had my own singing group, okay, to sing to me, and all kinds of instruments and everything. But again, nothing, okay? Nothing. It's not satisfying him, okay? Not satisfying him at all. Well, does he stop? He tries knowledge, he tries pleasure, he tries possessions. This is what the world tells us to do, right? I have to confess to you, I've tried some of these things in my life, okay? But he's not done. Experiment number 4 is achievement. Achievement. And this is some of the saddest statements anywhere in the Bible. He says, so I became great. So I became great. I excel more than all who were before me in Jerusalem. I mean, he says, look at my life. He's looking at his life and he's saying, look at this. Nobody's ever had what I had. Nobody, all right? And on top of that, he keeps coming back and saying, I still had my wisdom, okay? In other words, what he's thinking, I don't know, how do you interpret this? I mean, to me, it interprets like I had lots of brains. I had lots of knowledge, but even with all that knowledge, I didn't have the right knowledge. The Bible says the fear of God is the beginning of knowledge, and he doesn't have that, okay? He doesn't have that. The fear of God is the foundation of all knowledge, and he doesn't have it, all right? He might have all the worldly degrees and diplomas and all that kind of stuff, but he doesn't have the most important part of knowledge. That's the fear of God. And look at this, verse 10. Whatever my eyes desired, I did not keep from them. I did not withhold my heart from any pleasure. For my heart rejoiced in all my labor, and this was my from all my labor. Here's what it comes down to. Okay, he says, let me explain something to you. Okay, I have looked at many things in my life that I might have desired, that I couldn't afford them, okay? I might have said I'd like to have that, but I look at my bank account. My bank account says, Steve, you just can't afford that, okay? And you have that too, right? This guy never knew that. He had so much money, he never looked at anything and said, I can't afford it. So some of us are thinking, my problem is I just don't have enough money. If I could get enough money and buy the things I really want, I'm going to be filled with purpose. I'm going to be happy in my life. Well, this guy did that, okay? This guy did that. And then look at this, verse 11. Then I looked on all the works that my hands had done, and in all the labor in which I had toiled. And indeed, all was vanity, and here it is again, grasping for the wind. There was no profit under the sun. My goodness, what a sad, sad statement. He's been on a search for purpose, and he's tried all kinds of experiments that the world tells us is going to give us purpose. And when he looked at his life, listen, look at your life today. Just look at it. Take time to look at where you are. Are you like Solomon? Have you been trying all the experiments of this world and you've discovered it's like grasping for the wind? You're trying to get purpose, and you're reaching for it with knowledge, and reaching for it with pleasure, and reaching for it with possessions, and reaching for it with achievements, but you come up empty. You come up empty. Hey, we've all done it, okay? I've done it, all right? I've done it. And listen, it doesn't work, okay? It doesn't work. Listen, this world does not offer us purpose in life. We'll always come up. He tried knowledge, he tried pleasure, he tried possessions, he tried achievement. And listen to me, he reached the top of these things. He says, nobody before me ever had more pleasure, nobody before me had more knowledge, more pleasure, no more possessions, and no more achievement than me. But he was empty, right? He was empty. He was bored. He was unfulfilled. He was insignificant. Wow. What do you need to do in your search for purpose? Find purpose in God. Find purpose in God. So what I find interesting here is along the way, Solomon started figuring this thing out, all right? But what's interesting, he didn't go from 0 to 60 or whatever that term is, immediately, all right? It was kind of a process. And I think for a lot of us, it's a process, right? And what we see here is Solomon learned that God is the source of purpose. Now, I want you to notice this, okay? He's going to go all in chapter 12, all right? I mean, but along the way, he starts getting this sense that maybe, just maybe, God has something to do with purpose. Just maybe. He says in Ecclesiastes 2:24, in the midst of all these experiments, he says, nothing is better for a man than that he should eat and drink, and that his soul should enjoy good in his labor. Now listen to this. This is so interesting to me. This also I saw was from the hand of God. So even in the middle of this experiments he tried, he started to get this idea of a glimpse of this hope. And the hope is God. Now, unfortunately, he didn't just go all in at that point in time. He still started messing around with the things of the world. And maybe that's you. Maybe you kind of know, okay, maybe God has something to do with purpose. But I'm not ready, because in Ecclesiastes 12, he says, this is my all. Okay, he's kind of getting a little taste of it, all right? But it's good, okay, in the sense that he's starting to know, okay, God is the source of purpose, all right? And again, I want to read this. Nothing is better for a man than that he should eat and drink, and that his soul should enjoy good in his labor. This also I saw was from the hand of God. And then number 2, find purpose in God. God is the source of purpose. Number 2, we must follow God's purpose, not the world. All right? And here's what I want to say. A little bit of God, okay, is not going to get your purpose. A little bit of God. You can't live with 1 foot in the world and 1 foot with God and find purpose in life. And this is what Solomon says. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is man's all. For God will bring every work into judgment, including every secret thing, whether good or evil. Both in verse 13 and 14, we see God. God. His conclusion was that it's God, not the world, that gives you purpose in life, that gives you meaning and happiness in your life. And it's not just a little bit of God, it's making it your all, making God your all. I mean, doing your very, very best to keep his commandments. All right, doing your very, very best to fear God. And really to fear God and keep his commandments for the New Testament believer is to love God with all your heart, soul, and mind. Because to keep God's commandments is to love God, right? The New Testament believer, Jesus told us, if you love God, keep his commandments. John 14:15. If you love God, Jesus said, if you love me, keep my commandments. And so really what it's saying here is make God your all in all. We're going to talk about this next week. Okay, give God your total affection. Give God your total devotion. Go all in with God, okay? Go all in with God. Find purpose in God. So in the search of purpose, what do we see? Recognize a life without purpose. What is it like, okay? It's empty, it's boring, it's unfulfilling, it's insignificant. Avoid worldly experiments, all right? Don't avoid thinking knowledge, pleasure, possessions, and achievement are going to give you purpose. Find your purpose in God. And again, go all in with God. Sell out to God, so to speak. Deny yourself. Follow Him. And then lastly, participate and ignite your purpose. So today, I want to finish up the message once again sharing with you what we're going to be doing here, okay? Ignite your purpose, all right? Yes, it's a teaching series, and I'll call it both things. I go back and forth because it is a teaching series. But again, we try to add some extra things to help make it more powerful in your life. And so it's really a spiritual growth intensive. And I want you to see it that way, okay? I want you, it's going to come and it's going to go rather quickly, right? But would you just really be intentional and give this your all right? Because we're going to answer the question, why are we here? Why are we here? And it's my hope and it's my desire to help you experience Romans 12:11. Not lagging in diligence, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. Not lacking when it comes to being diligent for God, but rather be excited, be fervent in your spirit and serving the Lord. And so to do that, we're going to have 3 levels, all right? The individual level is 2 things, meaning these are things only you can do, all right? Only you can do these. I can't do these for you. Nobody else can do them for you. They are 2 things. One, we're going to be giving you the growth guide. The growth guide are daily Bible readings and reflection questions, all right? Do your growth guide. Do the growth guide. And then key verse cards. So we always have a key verse, 52 of those a year, by the way. But for the spiritual growth intensive, we actually print them up on little cards and send them to you, all right? We give them to you, all right? And so you get both of these things through our weekly mailing. If you don't get our weekly mailing, let me know. Email me, wecare@capitalbaptist.org, and we'll add you to that, okay? Then the group level, okay? We call them growth groups, where you can connect with others and talk about each topic. And some of our groups are online as well as on site. And if you'd like to get in a group, let us know that as well at wecare@capitalbaptist.org. And then lastly, what I call the congregational level. And these are the 6 sermons. So good job. You were here today for sermon number 1. Thank you for being here. But listen, there's 5 more to go. 5 more to go, all right? Please do your best to hear every single one of these messages. Hey, I'm excited. I'm excited about igniting your purpose, all right? And I want to invite you to go all in, be on board, and let's find purpose in God. Let's find purpose in God. Thank you for being here. God bless you. Have a great week of purpose.